So a birth plan is a document that outlines your preferences for your labor, delivery, and immediately after birth. And today we're going to discuss exactly what can be included in a birth plan, also known as your birth goals. And we're going to talk about some of the hopes versus reality of having a birth plan. What are some reasons why you may want to use a birth plan or have one for your partner, for your providers, for your nurses when you're going into labor, whether it's in the hospital or a birthing center or even at home. Just having an idea of what it is that you want during the labor, delivery, and after birth process. I did not utilize a birth plan for my first baby at all, but I did have one for my second and my third baby. And I think that it's really helpful to have a guideline of what it is that you want, to kind of have a guideline of what it is that you can expect. I feel like a lot of times, especially if it's your first time ever having a baby, you don't even really know, what you should be asking for, and how many things you actually have control over making decisions for, if that makes sense. So today we're going to go into that. So go ahead, grab your comfy blankets, get out a paper and a pen, take some notes, and let's get into it. Okay, so I actually have my birth plan right here on my phone. So I'm gonna just go through my birth plan / birth goals with you, just to kind of let you know what topics or what questions are on here, so that you can kind of have an idea of the things that you would be thinking about for your plan. I actually got my birth goal or birth plan checklist from my doula, but there's plenty of templates online that you can get and use. So it's very easy to find. But yeah, before I go into it though, I just want to emphasize and state that even though you're going to create these birth plans or your birth goal, just really go into your labor, your delivery with an open mind, and don't be so rigid in the decisions and the choices that you make. Excuse me, I'm super congested. So this is just kind of to help you have like a baseline or guideline of what it is that you potentially could want, but just know that things don't always go the way we plan them. So don't think of it as something that's just so strict that you have to follow. It has to go your way, because expectations can lead to disappointments. And if you're so stuck on everything going exactly the way you want it to, you will be disappointed, because birth, labor, after birth, it can be super unpredictable. So all we can do is focus on the things that we can control. And yes, this will be a guideline to help. It'll help your partner, it'll help your labor staff, your nursing team, your doula, your provider, whether it's a midwife or a doctor or a nurse practitioner, whoever it may be. It'll help to know, okay, this is what she wants. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the goal is to have a safe and healthy labor and delivery process for you and baby to come out doing amazing. So just keep that in mind. And also, this is like a message to myself as well, to know that things may not always go exactly how you plan it, but that doesn't mean that we should not plan and have an idea of what it is that we want. Okay, so now I'm gonna go right into my birth plan. And I do have my birth plans on my phone. I am also going to have a copy printed out to bring with me, just so I can have that there as well. It's really great to have a copy for your partner, so that for some reason, let's just say you're not able to speak or advocate for yourself, your partner, your family member, your doula will be able to say, well, this is what she said she wanted. So you can have that. Also, like I said, to be able to have it at your bedside, so that when your nursing team comes in or they change shifts, they can have an idea of what it is your expectations are for your labor and your delivery, and they can know how to care for you the best way possible. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start. So at the top of mine, it says birth goals. It has my name on it. And then it has starting off my birth site. So the options for birth site are hospital, birth center, and home. And typically by the time you're going to deliver, you will already know this. I personally will be delivering in the hospital, so that is what I selected. But you would just basically select where you plan to labor and have your delivery. Next, your care provider. So what type of care provider are you going to have? So I have an OBGYN, but you could also have a midwife or a nurse practitioner. And then it also states, who do I want in the birth room with me? I know some hospitals and some places may have restrictions on how many people you can have with you, but for me personally, I said that I want my partner, I want my doula, and if I'm able to have more than 2 people, I want my mom to be there if she can. My mom is also going to be the one that's going to be watching our other 2 girls, so if I happen to go into labor when school is already out, then my mom will not be able to be there, but if I go into labor while they're still in school, she will be able to be there. So just knowing and having an idea of who you want in the room is super important. Sometimes people have expectations for your delivery and they may want to be in your delivery and you may not want them there. So just having those conversations with your partner, with your healthcare provider, so everyone is on the same page before you get to the hospital. I know some hospitals sometimes have restrictions. I know it was super strict during COVID, but I feel like they've released some of those restrictions since then. But sometimes they'll say only 2 people at the bedside. Sometimes they really don't have a limit. So it just depends on where you're delivering and what is allowed. Obviously, if you're delivering at home or at a birthing center, it's going to be a little less rigid and more relaxed, and you probably can have as many people as you want. But in the hospital, it will probably be more rigid and probably have more rules surrounding that. Next, it says my birth is planned. So how do you imagine your birth is planned? Do you imagine having a vaginal birth? Do you want to be induced? Do you want to have a C-section? So kind of having an idea of what it is that you want. I know that some people would prefer to be induced. Some people would prefer to have a C-section. I personally would like to have a vaginal birth. So that is kind of just the starting topics of what it is that I want for my labor. Next, it goes into comfort measures. So what do you want to help you be comfortable during your labor and delivery process? And it goes into do you want to have your own clothes? Are you going to use a hospital gown? Do you want to have food as desired? Do you want to have just liquids? Do you want to have ice chips and popsicles? Obviously, if you're in the hospital, it may be a little bit more rigid with what they allow you to eat or have versus if you're at home or at a birthing center. Other things to consider would be do you want music? Do you want a birth ball? Do you want rice socks? Do you want cold cloths? Do you want to be able to move and have mobility? Do you want to be in a tub or a shower while you're laboring? Do you want massages? Do you want aromatherapy? So these are just different type of comfort measures that you may want to consider. Some things that you may not have even thought about, or while you're actually in labor and you're in pain, you may not think about. So thinking about this beforehand and having an idea of what it is that you want. That way your birthing team, your birthing partners can support you. Okay, I see that Brittany's in a lot of pain right now. I know she said that she would like some music. Maybe let's play some music for her, or maybe let's get this ball, or maybe let's get her moving, because those are the things that she said that she would want as comfort measures. So next we go into interventions. So water breaking. Do you want your water to break naturally, or do you want them to rupture you? Do I want my labor to start on its own, or do I want to be induced, or do I want a natural induction such as nipple stimulation? Do you want to have regular vaginal exams? Do you want to have limited vaginal exams? Do you want to have your IV hooked up to a machine, or do you want it to be saline locked? Another one is, do you want to be monitored continuously or intermittently? Do you want to be monitored at all? Personally, I told my doctor that I want my baby to be monitored, but I want to be able to be moved. So she suggested having a mobile monitor or intermittent monitoring. That way I can get up and I can move around and I'm not tied to my bed. Next would be perineum care. Do you want to have a massage? Do you want to have a episiotomy, which means that they will cut you so that you don't tear spontaneously, or if you want to tear naturally, you don't get an episiotomy. Another topic is pain relief. Do you want pain relief? Do you not want pain relief? Do you want it to be offered? Do you not want it to be offered? Sometimes women can get triggered if it's offered and they don't want it. Sometimes women want to be offered it. If they say if you see I'm in too much pain, offer it. Here the categories are natural, narcotic, epidural, or will ask if desired. So don't ask me. If I want it, I'll let y'all know. Next, it says, what would you like during pushing? Do you want a mirror so you can see your baby? Do you want to be able to touch your baby's head while they're crowning? Do you want your partner to catch the baby? So those are pretty much most of the topics on my birth plan for labor. So now we're going to go into afterbirth. So for the first topic, it talks about, what do you want to do with your placenta? Do you want your placenta to be delivered naturally? Do you want it to be medically managed? Would you like to see the placenta? Would you like to keep your placenta? There's lots of big talk on placenta these days. A lot of people like to keep their placentas now. Some people will eat their placenta. They'll turn their placenta into capsules or into smoothies. They will plant their placenta. So this is a huge topic these days. Next is a topic of umbilical cord care. Do you want to delay cord clamping? Do you want to clamp only after pulsing? Do you want a lotus birth? So now for afterbirth, what are some things that you may want? Do you want to do skin to skin immediately after? Do you want to delay skin to skin? Do you want the evaluation to be done on your chest? Do you want to nurse as soon as possible? Some people feel grossed out by all the bodily fluids and they don't want the baby put on them immediately after birth. Some people want everything done on their chest after birth. Next, for suctioning, do you want them to suction how they would normally do it, routine, or do you want it to only be as needed? Eye treatment, do you want them to give baby the eye ointment as normally routine or only if medically needed? Do you want a first bath? Do you not want a first bath? Some people wait to give baby their first bath when they get home. Some people would prefer they have their first bath in the hospital. I personally always give my baby their first bath in the hospital. They usually do it after 24 hours. Do you want vitamin K, which is the injection that they will put into the thigh? If you're having a boy, do you want a circumcision? Yes or no? Regarding baby rooming, do you want your baby to be in the room with you or in the nursery? 9 times out of 10 these days in the hospital, baby rooming is something that is like a standard. They don't really keep your baby in the nursery like that. They really encourage that skin to skin, keeping baby close to mom. So if you are in a hospital that they do give this an option, this is something to just consider, I guess, and decide whether you want to do it or not. What are your plans for feeding? Do you want to breastfeed? Do you want to formula feed? Do you want to do both? Lastly, another thing would be like photography and videography. Do you want to record it? Do you want to take pictures? And things like that. So I really like having a birth plan because, like I said, it allows you to think deeper and dig deeper into things that you probably would not normally think about. It allows you to have an idea of what it is that you want for your labor and your delivery. It also helps to have the conversations with your partner. It allows you to have these conversations easier with your birth team, with your nursing team, especially your nursing team, because when you're in the hospital, nurses work 12-hour shifts. So depending on how long you're in there, you may have a new nurse multiple times throughout your stay while you're there. So having this document to be able to just be like, hey, this is my birth plan, this is what I want, they can easily just glance through it and be like, okay, this is what she wants, and go from there. I hope that is super helpful. This isn't going to be a super long video. I just wanted to just kind of go through birth plans, what can be discussed on a birth plan, and hopes versus reality. As a final reminder, your birth plan, your birth goal is just that. It's a goal. It's your hope. But sometimes the reality can be different. I know plenty of women who wanted to have a vaginal birth and ended up having an emergency C-section. I know plenty of women who wanted to have an unmedicated birth and ended up getting an epidural. Just know that whatever you decided that you wanted in the beginning, or if it ended up changing in the end, it is okay. You are still amazing. You are still strong. You are still beautiful. You are still carrying this life and bringing this life into this world. However it happens, what matters the most is that you and baby are safe at the end of the day. But it's always good to just have an idea, to know what to expect, to know what things you do have power and control over. Because a lot of times we don't realize that there's a lot of things that we can have an opinion or a thought on when it comes to our own medical and health care. So I feel like a birth plan really just exposes you to that. Like, oh, I didn't know I can have a say about this. Oh, I didn't know that I can have a say about that. So it really just helps you to know what you can advocate on, especially when you're in the hospital, when you're about to give birth to your baby. I hope this was super, super helpful. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. If you have any different things on your birth plan or that you're including in your plan, please let me know. Let's have a conversation about it. I'm about to be going into labor probably any day now, so I'm just curious to see how my birth plan / goal will go compared to what actually happens in reality. What will be my hope versus reality? Obviously, I hope and pray that it goes the way I want it to, but I do understand that things can happen, things can go anyway. So I'm just personally praying for a safe delivery, safe labor, an afterbirth process for me and baby, and any of my expecting moms currently pregnant, expecting to be delivered soon. I pray that for you as well, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.